From the John Nevada Broadcast Center, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another broadcast of Armchair Experts with Jim Leanne and Rich Massaro on the Windy City Hometown Entertainment Network and Jack FM 89.7 WRHS FM Norwich on Thursday, March the 8th, the year 2018. And now, here they are, bright eye, bushy tail, and a smile on their face.
And a song in our hearts.
Jim and Rich.
Yes, indeed, once again.
Okay.
We're back again, whether you like it or not.
Yeah, that's for sure.
DePaul plays Marquette.
DePaul plays in Marquette. That's okay.
That's what you were. We were having a discussion about who Notre Dame was playing today.
Well, it's DePaul and Marquette.
And it's DePaul and Marquette.
Okay.
As we're doing this on Wednesday. Let me just check.
So is that the Big East tournament?
That is, I think that's the Big East tournament.
Okay.
Let's see. Notre Dame is playing Virginia Tech right now.
Okay.
And getting beat badly.
Okay.
As we are recording this, it's 14:35 to play in the second half. Virginia Tech up by 21 over Notre Dame.
Wow.
Yeah. So here we are again, Richard. I don't know where to begin today. I scribbled random thoughts.
Which
is what I usually do, anyhow.
I was going to ask you, who's going to sign Jake Arrieta?
Let's see. The Cubs need a fifth starter, don't they?
No, they didn't. That would be a sixth starter.
That would be a sixth starter.
Yeah. Because we're talking about this over coffee this morning, and somebody says, well, if I think it was Joe DiGiovanni, they said, if nobody signs Arrieta and the Cubs approach him and he's, amenable to their terms, would they sign him? And I'm like, there's no way. They got five guys who are starters. I don't know that any of them is really a likely guy to go, say, to any type of relief situation.
Chitwood, maybe.
Yeah, I doubt it. I think he's been a starter.
That would be the only logical one, and you have Montgomery, who's a swing.
And I just don't see it happening, Jim. It's just not going to happen. The last thing I had heard some rumors that he might go to the Phillies, but that hasn't come, to any conclusion.
I hadn't heard that one. I noticed that the Mariners signed Ichiro again.
Yeah. Well, you know what's interesting? Part of the conversation today was, I think Scott Boras has somewhat of an interesting take on this whole thing. I know that part of his motive is selfish because he wants to get the most he can for, because then he's going to make money, and there's nothing wrong with that per se. Mm-hmm. But it's interesting that he's questioning, I think along with Tony Clark, who's the head of the Major League Baseball Players Association, why is, all of a sudden everybody's in love with tanking? And I buy into what they're saying. This is Major League Sports, okay? You had the Cubs successfully do this. There's no guarantee that other teams will be able to successfully do this.
No.
Do you remember, Jim, we talked one time, and you started to say, this is prior to the Cubs becoming contenders.
Yeah.
And you had said to me, well, when these prospects, come around, we're going to be okay. And I think I had said to you, well, Jim, not every one of these prospects is going to turn out. Well, in the Cubs case,
they did.
Almost every one of the
prospects every one of them hit.
But I would still stick with my contention. Anybody else who's doing this to get draft picks, say, there is no guarantee that every one of those draft picks is going to turn out.
No, and I mean, you know what? The Sox are in the middle of doing a variation of that, but they have picked up other prospects,
right.
that may hit, and you picked up. Well, you got Luis Robert, who's probably going to hit, but he was going to manage to connect well. He's a 5-tool guy, but you signed him from Cuba. They signed him from Cuba. You picked up all these other prospects, the ones they picked up from the Cubs.
Right.
couple of years down the road, the Sox are going to be a really, really good ball club.
Well, you think so at this point, although all of us, I see a tiny cloud forming over their head because all of a sudden you have Jake Berger out for the year.
Yeah, Jake Berger's out for that's right.
Jimenez with a little bit of a knee issue.
Okay, I wasn't aware of that. I knew Jake Berger was out for the year.
You got Miker Alonso, who is out with, I think it's some shoulder problems. Zach Birdie will miss the whole year with Tommy John surgery. So you know what? You never know how the
You never know
how the chips are going to fall.
That's true. That's true. I haven't paid. I just knew with some of the prospects they had a couple of years down the road.
You would think that
that can play out very well.
But Jim, there's. I think we've had this conversation before, though. How do you really determine who's
going to make it and who's not?
Going to make it and who's not? I'm thinking to myself, especially with pitching, they've got, let's just say, half a dozen prospects from various places that are pitchers. How many of those guys are really going to be, down the line, are going to be effective big league pitchers? What would you say, 2 out of 6 maybe?
If you're good, two.
Yeah.
If you're good.
Yeah.
It's like looking at, and we'll talk about the Bulls somewhere down the road here tonight. But if you get 2 of them, you should be happy.
By the way, speaking of the Bulls, I had them on for whatever time it took me to get from the library to here, and geez, instantly. The league has some words with them, and guess who was in the starting lineup?
Gee, was his last name Lopez?
Well, I don't know about Lopez, but Holiday was in.
Okay.
So,
all right. I was going to get onto that point tonight too.
Yeah, go ahead.
Let's start on that. What do you think? I mean, there's an issue right now with the Bulls, apparently with the big 3, Markkanen, Levine and Dunn, that they're not exactly having the best chemistry out here.
Well, I don't know why anybody thought that they... Jim, the first thing, and this is nothing to do with personalities or anything, the Bulls were playing pretty decent basketball with Dunn in the lineup and Markkanen in the lineup. Then Markkanen missed some time, and Dunn missed some time, and Levine got healthy just about that time, and he stepped into the picture. I guess my point would be a lot of moving parts, and now the 3 of them are together, and you've basically sort of you eliminated Mirotic from the picture, who was a big part of the overall team. You have benched Robin Lopez and Justin Holiday, who are not superstars, but they're very solid veterans.
They're good, solid veterans.
For a number of games. And now you're seeing these 3 guys out there sort of naked, if you want to put it that way. And, I'm not surprised that there's some, there's some glitches in here, if you want to call them that.
I mean, are you gonna feel good about Levine going out there and shooting 1 for 11 like he did the other night against the Celtics?
No.
How many nights are you going to leave him out there for 27 minutes?
Well, here's the thing. When you look at Lauri Markkanen is a high draft choice. So I don't know if I could probably find a better word, but I'm not going to come up with it. So he's sort of a legit guy at this point in terms of his potential. Chris Dunn was a very sketchy player last year for Minnesota and comes over, and he's done pretty well over here. Zach LaVine was a 6th man in college in the 1 year I think he spent in college. Played quite a bit for the Timberwolves, I think, the last 2 years. My point is, again, I think when you look at the papers and the coverage of this by the media, yes, is there talent there? Definitely, but the total equation, when you take what is successful for a team and what's not, are these 3 guys, say, do they have high basketball IQs? Do they mesh together? Are they really good teammates? The other thing is, who's going to dominate the ball? I think, Dunn is the point guard, so he's going to have the ball in his hands. He had developed a pretty good chemistry with Markkanen. But now you throw Levine into the equation, and
Right.
Levine and Dunn have played together before.
Right.
I think you may not see it that way because you see them as pros, and you think, well, this should be pretty easy for them. But I would think Dunn, there might be some confusion on his part. Okay, I got chemistry with the one guy. I've had chemistry with the other guy. Now, how are we going to go with this? Who's going to be the guy who steps up in whatever the situation is? So I think there's some natural confusion there. Whose ball?
You also, if you add to the mix on the starting lineup, if you add Portis in there,
Yeah, Portis is.
you've thrown a third potential alpha in there.
That's why I think in basketball, Jim, you don't always start the five. I won't say five best players, but you're
Right.
not going to start the five best, say, offensive
Right.
players.
Right.
And so I understand that they're trying things out. So I Portis is in there. I'm not sure that Hoiberg would normally do it this way, except they want to take a look at how people work together and how best things may work. So I think they're going to hit some rough spots just because basically they're experimenting right now.
I understand that, and I guess when I look at a comment here in the paper from Tuesday Sun Times in here,
I bet you I know what the comment's going to be, so read it.
Hoiberg says they quit.
Oh, no. You know what I thought you were going to say? This is Tuesday's paper. We're on
Right.
Wednesday. If you had today's paper, it was like a revelation to Chris Dunn because part of the problem the other night is Hoiberg was unhappy because he said, guys like Holiday and Lopez, the value that they bring is if you get off to a lousy start, because I think they were losing like 25-6 or something right off the bat. And he said,
Well, it was 35-16 at the quarter.
at the quarter. So I think he said it was like a 25-6 start right
Yeah,
from the
could have been.
get-go.
Could have been.
And he said, but the value in having the veteran guys in there is they'll try to snap the guys back into the frame of mind. Hey, we got to keep battling here.
Yeah, at one point the Bulls were down by 37.
But Chris Dunn says in the paper today, well, yeah, I'm the point guard. I guess I didn't realize I'm one of the guys who's got to sort of, and I'm paraphrasing. This isn't his exact words, but it was his sentiment that, yeah, I guess I got to be one of the guys who's got to do that. And I'm like, geez,
yes.
you think you've been a point guard for quite a while. Do you think you would have known that by now?
You think
Yeah.
you should do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I heard some comment this morning about that. That's something, you want to put slap your palm against your forehead
like, what have we
you
here?
You think?
Do you think? Yeah.
Yeah.
Chris, wake up and smell the coffee, buddy.
Jeez.
So
And when you get into a situation like that, what's the role of the coach? Is it the coach to point out and say, "You're in charge"? Fred just sitting there going, "Well, it looks like we didn't have good chemistry."
Well, I don't think it's Fred. Even if the coach, if you try to, as the coach, to pick a guy to do that, it's probably not going to work. I think there's some guys who naturally do that, but I also think that in basketball, it'd be like the quarterback saying, "Geez, should I be the guy talking in the huddle?" I mean, of course, you're the quarterback.
Yeah, you're the quarterback.
Well, you're the point guard. You're the man with the ball in his hands just about every time your team has the ball. So there is a certain amount of leadership responsibility just because of that.
yeah.
And, you are generally directing your players, if they need to be directed. Say you're running a play and somebody's off the page. You're the one who's got to put the people in the right spots. So there's some leadership there that is needed just by the definition of the position.
Is Portis a starter?
I don't know what Portis is, to be honest. I mean,
I'm
I'm not
not
anti-Bobby Portis.
No, I'm not anti-Bobby Portis either. There's two people, that have gotten their time and get some significant playing minutes. Portis and Denzel Valentine.
Yes.
And I think they are going to be good ball players, but they are going to be good role players, good guys in the rotation.
Yeah, I think
Are
so.
they going to be starters? I don't know.
No,
But I
don't-
think they're good rotational players.
Yeah, I think you're right, and I don't think if I don't know about Portis because I haven't seen any comments by him, but I think Valentine sort of gets it, and he understands that his role could be coming off the bench, and I think it sounds like he's fine with that. I don't know.
Yeah,
where
I mean, I'm
Portis is
looking at the other night. I mean, he led the team with 20 points.
Yeah. Well, I'd say
He
Denzel
was the one of the
Valentine,
he was one of the few who was fairly effective in shooting.
I would say he's a genuine team player. Wouldn't be surprised. It wouldn't surprise me if when the Bulls finally, are set on a team that they think will eventually contend. When that team is finally set, wouldn't surprise me that the name of the leader is not Dunn or Markkanen or Levine, but the name of the leader would be Valentine.
Okay.
Because he was that type of guy in college, and I think he's for a young guy, I think he's mature, and I think I would not be surprised to see him be the leader of the team at some point.
Okay. Just going back, and keep in mind we're doing this on Wednesday. We're doing this on a Wednesday night. 10:54 to play, second quarter. Bulls 32, Memphis 26.
Okay.
And who's in the mix right now? Holiday, Dunn, Levine, Markkanen, and Portis were your starters tonight.
Okay.
But you've had 5 guys in off the bench already too.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's definitely at this point. I don't disagree with the league, sort of firing a shot over the bow of the teams, especially based on some of Mark Cuban's comments within the last couple of weeks.
Cuban,
and I understand.
Cuban is going like, yeah, we're tanking.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think Cuban's just being honest. This is the way he thinks it should go. But at the same time, I think that the players should be out there. Whoever they have out there should be playing hard to win. I don't think there's a question in my mind about that. But I also think that it's the team's right. Say you're a team like the Bulls or the Mavs or some of the teams that are, not going to make the playoffs. I think it's your right to say, okay, you know what, Robin Lopez, Justin Holiday, you are great. You are really good team guys. You're very solid players. But we need to see what some of these other guys can do in certain situations. So we need you to sit for a while and let these other players play. And I think that's a legit thing from the team's point of view.
I think it. I understand why they're doing it. It's. I think what the league is more concerned with is a competitive product.
Sure, of course
that's out there.
Of course,
because I mean you've got teams like your bottom teams. Just looking at it right now, I mean Phoenix, who's the worst team in the NBA right now? Phoenix.
Okay.
Yeah. I think it is. I can't read. Yeah. Phoenix and Memphis right now are your worst 2 teams in the NBA.
Okay.
And Dallas is right there too.
Yeah.
And I keep thinking, okay, so what are you trying to do? You're trying to get more cards in the hopper to see if you get a better chance in the draft lottery? I keep thinking back to the days of Patrick Ewing and Ralph Sampson when everybody was trying to lose.
Yeah, they wanted one of those guys. Yeah.
One of those 2 guys.
Yeah. I mean, try to lose, I guess you would say, my feeling is that comes from the front office. The front office may say to the coach, you know what, we want these guys to play, we want these other guys to sit. So we're not throwing the game, but we're giving ourselves less of a chance to win because we're going to play young, unproven guys versus guys who possibly
veterans that we know.
Yeah, may make us win 3 or 4 more games, and that might not be the best thing for, as we see it, may not be the best thing for the franchise overall.
Yeah, because I see they're also planning on bringing up Antonio Blakeney.
Yeah, I saw that.
Just to get a second look at him for whatever he can do, whatever that means.
Yeah.
He played 12 games with them earlier. He played 12 games with them and averaged 8.7 points in 12 games.
Yeah, I thought, he was with them beginning of the season. I thought the times that he did play, it seemed like he was, did a pretty good job. I was actually sort of surprised that they sent him down to the NBAGL team. So
Yeah.
yeah,
What did you think of the talk that's going around about changing the format, or at least changing the seeding of the playoffs?
for the NBA.
Yeah.
What are they talking about? I'm not sure.
Instead of your best 8 teams from the East and your best 8 teams from the West, take your best 16 teams.
Okay, and then seed them 1 through 16.
Seed them 1 through 16. Because I guess the only thing is you're going to have at least right now, and I guess every league goes through cycles, it'd be a very Western dominant
Yeah, I'm
team.
sure.
Because I think what you'd like is, wouldn't it be great to have Houston and Golden State
Yeah,
reach your finals
sure.
instead of Houston versus Cleveland, which is off this year, or Houston versus Indiana.
Yeah. No, I get it, and I think it would be. It's worth trying. I
would like to see it.
Yeah, I think it's worth trying.
See it to be a more representative,
Yeah, where you
more
in other words,
representative of your product.
right. You want to get the 2 best teams available. I have no problem with that. I don't believe that would be a bad idea.
Yeah, because as I look at it this year, your teams would be Houston number 1, Golden State number 2 from the West, Toronto number 3 from the East, Boston number 4 from the East, Portland number 5 from the West. I'm kind of doing this, trying to eyeball this. New Orleans, number 6 from the West. Indiana, number 7 from the East. Then you're going to have San Antonio, Minnesota, and Oklahoma City. 3 more teams from the West. Now I've lost track of how many teams I've picked.
I think you're down about 11 or so.
11 before you pick up another team from the East, and that is going to be Washington.
Okay.
And then you're going to wind up with Denver, and then Philadelphia, and I've lost track. If we still need one, I think the Clippers would make it then. And right now, looking at the way the West is, the Clippers would be out of it.
Okay.
And I think what you're trying to do is keep situations where you're not going to have a team like Detroit that's Detroit's 5 games out of a playoff right now. In the East, they're in 9th in the East, 5 games behind Milwaukee, but they're under 500.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it'd be worth. I think it'd be worth
I think you're trying to get your best teams in there, and not some 41-41 team.
Yeah, for sure.
I was curious what
sure.
your thoughts were on that.
I saw you take a quick peek at the clock. We're not quite there to the halfway point.
I just wanted to see how John was doing.
I think John is listening to old time radio or something.
I think it is. I think it's. I'm hearing old time radio in the background there.
Yeah. Okay.
What show is on tonight?
Fibber,
John?
McGee, and Molly.
I don't know what's on right now.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
All right. That proves John's not. At least he's not listening to old time radio.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
Old time.
You're
is
right.
Here.
You are listening to old time.
You're listening to old time here for sure.
Well, Jim, talking about the Bulls, though, I still, even though I guess you could say they're looking at Markkanen and Levine and Dunn as the guys they're sort of going to build around, I'm seeing there's probably still a spot maybe for one big player that's going to step in and really be the guy, because I'm not sure that I see that I see three guys who potentially are good players, but I'm not sure that any of those guys are maybe that big guy that you can really build the whole team around.
You think Markkanen's ever going to be a big star?
I don't know. I mean, I think he's going to be a good player. I don't know he's going to be a big star.
I see Dirk Nowitzki.
Well, they keep comparing him to Dirk Nowitzki, but I guess that remains to be seen. He's still pretty young. I mean, he's doing fine. I think he even said himself a while ago that he thinks he's hitting that wall, and he's doing fine. But I see there's a ton of room for improvement there. No doubt about that.
Oh yeah.
So I think the thing that they have to I'll tell you what, I really thought the team played well when you had Dunn and Markkanen working a lot together on offense. You had a veteran like Mirotic who came off the bench basically and could score a bunch of points. You had some solid veteran guys who helped the defense in Lopez and Holiday and could provide some offense. I actually thought, I'm not saying it was a championship mix or anything like that, but that's the type of mix that can become a playoff type of contending team. I'm not saying those guys specifically, but I'm saying those types of guys. And what I think really, to go back to one of your initial, or probably was your initial questions, I think they've had a hard time incorporating Levine into this whole thing. It probably would not have been a problem if he had not been hurt right off the bat.
Yeah.
But it is a problem at this point.
Yeah, I would agree with you. It's hard to find the mix right now.
Yeah.
And I think what they're trying to do. What they're trying to do is, yes, we're trying to find these players that we have to see if they're worth keeping for down the road. Mm-hmm. Yes, we may tank this year, but we don't necessarily want to be back in the usual spot where we're 42-40,
right?
And in basketball purgatory as far as the draft, NBA draft purgatory, where you're just outside the range where you can have the guy that can be the big impact player for you.
Yeah.
And that's been the problem.
Yeah, that's true. Now, are any of the people who are potentially the big draft choices, the big prizes in the draft, the big question is, okay, they're very talented young guys, but is their makeup such that they can come in and be a huge impact? I mean, even these lottery picks, most of them, where are they? Who are they? I mean, do you even remember most of them?
If you could name me 5 of them, I'd tell you you're a better man than I am, Gunga Din.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's no guarantee that and I mean, you just had mentioned the Sampson,
Patrick Ewing.
Oh, I thought it was Bowie.
No.
Oh, Sampson Ewing. I'm
Bowie
thinking
was,
of Olajuwon and Bowie.
Yeah.
When you said Sampson and Ewing, I'm thinking Olajuwon and Bowie. But okay, so you weren't talking about that. But going to that, Olajuwon and Bowie, and of course everybody knows that the third guy picked, Jordan, was the guy. And I don't think you may have had people who recognized Jordan's potential, but I certainly, as a fan, I didn't. I mean, I knew he was a good player. I knew he had made the big shot in the championship game the one year, the NCAA championship game. I didn't really think much about him one way or the other, and look what he turned out to be.
Yeah.
So
the greatest of all time.
Yeah. So you don't. I really don't think you can. It's hard to tell, especially in college, where the old joke was with Jordan. Who's the only guy who could hold Michael Jordan under 20 points a game? And of course, the answer was
Dean Smith.
But it's a truism in the sense that what type of system did you play in? You may be an excellent player who's playing in a system where every part of the game is valued. How many times do you see these guys come in that are your lottery picks that are they're one or two dimensional. They don't
That's
play.
right.
They're not a four.
They do not have the full scope, the full talent.
Right.
They've come in. They've played 1 year.
Right.
1 year, 2 if you're lucky,
Yes.
of competitive high-level college basketball.
Mm-hmm.
And they come into the game, they come into the pros, in many cases totally unprepared. But we're prepared for a station break.
All right.
Wasn't that a nice segue, huh? How about
Beautiful.
that?
I love it. It was nice. Very good. He should be.
You're listening to Armchair Experts from the John DeVita Broadcast Center on Jack FM 89.7 WRHS FM Norwich and the Windy City Hometown Entertainment Network on Thursday, March the 8th, the year 2018, with Jim Leon and Rich Massaro. And this is Jack FM 89.7 WRHS FM Norwich, Illinois. And now back to Armchair Experts with Jim and Leon.
Jim and Leon.
Jim and Leon?
I changed my name, John.
Jim and Rich, I meant to say.
That's the best.
John, that's good. I like that one.
I love it.
I know. John.
Jim talking with himself. Okay.
Yeah, some days I do that a lot.
Yeah.
Some days I do that a lot, Richard. I don't know.
Oh, man. That's good, John. Thank you. You know what? That livened things up a little bit, too. I love it.
Anything else on the Bulls?
No, not...
You can. I had a thought and it disappeared, as many things do.
yeah, that happens.
Okay.
It happens.
But a basketball thought that was interesting. I don't know if you watched the Oscars over the weekend.
I didn't.
Kobe Bryant won an Oscar.
For what?
He wrote a letter to himself that appeared on the Players Tribune called Dear Basketball.
Okay.
And they made an animated feature out of it.
Okay.
And he won an Oscar.
Excellent. Good.
He won an Oscar. I thought
Very good.
I thought that was pretty cool.
No, that is cool.
I thought that was pretty cool.
That is. I remember there's a book called I want to say The Beauty of the Game or something like that, and I don't know, couldn't tell you who the author is, but he's got 5 or 6 different
I'm good.
5 or 6 different parts to the book, and one of them is about Kobe Bryant. And Kobe Bryant is such, thank you, Jen, is such a competitive guy that when he was in high school, after practice, because he still wanted to play, he'd get one of his teammates to go one-on-one. And they interviewed one of the kids who used to, play one-on-one with Kobe. He'd say, geez, Kobe had beat me like 100-1. And Kobe, then they would go back to Kobe and say, you didn't score one. But that's how competitive the guy is.
Yeah. But I mean, it was a nice piece, and I looked at it. I looked at it today online, and I didn't get a chance to print it off. But let me see if I can. Let me see if I can multitask and find it again and read it, because it was kind of him writing to his younger self.
Okay.
Kobe's ego, I'm sure, came out very well in it, but the fact that he won an Oscar,
Yeah, that's nice.
That's pretty cool.
So Jim, you said you're going to try to find this. Okay.
Yeah. Give me a second here.
I was going to say, do you want to switch to another subject?
Well, you know what?
Or what do you want to do?
We can. We want to continue. If we want to continue a little bit on the show business side of it, God, I was shocked to find the Loop being sold.
Oh, yeah, that's interesting. That's going to be. What the heck is the name of the station? Because it's
K-Love.
K-Love.
Yeah.
Which is 94.3 FM right now, and it's it's in the Chicago area. Even you can, in some places you can get it, in others you can't. So
Yeah.
it'll give K-Love a much clearer band to work with.
And that company that owns it has another format.
Okay.
They have two formats. And it sounds like the other format is more of a contemporary Christian rock and roll.
Okay.
So it's going to be interesting. And I was chuckling yesterday with all the comments on there, people posting things that said, "Boy, wouldn't it be interesting? The last songs heard on the loop are Metallica and Hell's Bells,
Yeah.
AC/DC, Highway to Hell."
Yeah. Well,
And the comment that I saw in the news that Steve Dahl made, he said, "It took me to bring down disco, but it took God to bring down the loop."
well, what 97.1 is that? The Drive?
97.1 is the drive.
I always thought that 97.1 and 97.9, and I know they tried to be different, but in my mind they were fairly similar. And so I always wondered, and they're close together on the dial. I always wondered why. I mean, I suppose you can't pick your band on the dial, but I always wondered why they were like that. I just saw them as being a little too similar.
Yeah,
And a little too close.
And it was interesting. We were talking before we went on about the way. Hold on, let me see if I can find this. Players Tribune.
I'm sipping coffee. Jim is looking at his
and
iPad.
I'm looking at my.
And we had dead air. For
and
a
we
few
have dead
seconds.
air for a few seconds, and John isn't panicking yet. So.
Nah, he's good.
Okay.
He's good with it.
I'll see if I can find it. But I mean, it was interesting talking about that and the price, the way stations were being sold back in those days. The fact that the company that owned the Loop at that point in time bought FM 100 for $77 million. The station where the Drive is now was a classical music station.
Right. Yeah, that's right.
And that sold because Bonneville wanted so desperately to get their hands on that thing. That station sold for something like $177 million.
Wow.
And it was interesting, too, because, that was the station where the old-time radio shows were on Saturday when Chuck Shaden, who's been a guest with us, had his show at one point in time. And Ken Alexander, who would come on with Chuck and still comes on with Steve Darnell, I mean, he mentioned the fact, and I think the story came out, he also worked part-time at this classical station. I understood after that was all said and done, even the part-timers were getting six-figure severance pay.
Oh, man.
When the station was sold.
Holy crap.
Oh, yeah, no kidding.
Man.
No kidding.
Man.
So it was an interesting time in radio. And to find that some of this is going away right now. And the it's telling me everything I want to know about the short film for Dear Basketball, but I can't find the piece that I want to read it.
Okay.
But it's interesting because I mean I think a lot of us that may have listened to the Loop over the years remember the days of Stephen Gary, Kevin Matthews, Jonathan Brandmeier. Loop hasn't been that way in,
many
Danny
years.
Bonaducci.
Yeah.
We're all having flashbacks to what it was, and it hasn't been anything close to that in many years.
Yeah. Yeah. Although it seems like I haven't seen very many people post about it, a couple, but it did what listenership it had obviously remained loyal even though those days were past.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and the format will stay, but it's going to be on HD2.
Okay.
And it's also going to be online. I did find Dear Basketball, and this was written by Kobe Bryant and it was on the Players Tribune. If you go to theplayerstribune.com and look for this, and it was on November 29th 2015. Dear basketball, from the moment I started rolling my dad's tube socks and shooting imaginary game-winning shots in the Great Western Forum, I knew one thing was real. I fell in love with you. A love so deep, I gave you my all, from my mind and body to my spirit and soul. As a 6-year-old boy, deeply in love with you, I never saw the end of the tunnel. I only saw myself running out of one. And so I ran. I ran up and down every court. After every loose ball for you, you asked for my hustle. I gave you my heart, because it came with so much more. I played through the sweat and hurt, not because challenge called me, but because you called me. I did everything for you because that's what you do, when you make someone feel as alive as you made me feel. And, oh no, I thought it was longer than this. Let me finish it. You gave a 6-year-old boy his Laker dream, and I'll always love you for it. But I can't love you obsessively for much longer. This season is all I have left to give. My heart can take the pounding, my mind can handle the grind, but my body knows it's time to say goodbye. And that's okay. I'm ready to let you go. I want you to know now so we both can savor every moment we have left together. The good and the bad we have given each other. That's all we have. And we both know no matter what I do, I'll still be that kid with the rolled-up socks, garbage can on the corner, 5 seconds on the clock, ball in my hands. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Love you always, Kobe.
You know what I got out of that? Jim was always a really good reader from the time I knew him. He's still a good reader, you know? I like
did
that,
it
Jim.
cold, too.
I remember, you know, in Mrs. Peterson's class, when James Leon, please get up and read, you know, he was always good.
So
Very
what else
good.
did you get out of it?
What I would expect from Kobe. I mean, he just,
Ego?
you know, sort of.
Ego?
No, didn't see much ego there. I just thought he was, you know, I think he was genuinely going to miss playing basketball. Okay. Sounded like to me.
Okay, good.
I really
That's
didn't
kind
see
of the
ego.
way I was hearing people criticizing it, and Monday on the radio, people were, it's just him stroking his ego. Well, as I went back and looked at it, it was him just being honest.
Yeah,
he did.
so.
He had an opportunity to do the thing that he loved.
Yeah,
for many, many years.
I'm curious though. The people that you heard, what was their? Where did they read the ego into it?
Quite frankly, I don't think they knew what they were talking about.
Okay.
And I think some of it was going back to the whole Me Too and the whole Me Too thing that's been going on, and you heard enough of it if you watched any of the Oscars over the weekend.
Okay.
And here you have a guy who
was rolling in the hay with another woman while he was married, and
right.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I mean, I don't know
How
what that
could
had
he
to do with it.
I don't know how it could be either. Well, like, how did they allow him up there?
Yeah, well, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure there are
Where
probably
was-
more people than Kobe up there who could fall in that category. They
No
just
kidding.
haven't been. Well, I don't want to get into this whole topic.
No,
let's go to another thing.
Let's go to something else.
Yeah.
Fuller, Kyle Fuller.
Yeah, why
Got
they
hit with-
franchised them, huh? Or no, they
the transition tag,
transitioned them.
which apparently has never been used that much.
No, who the heck was the last person that it was used on? They said it, but I can't think of who it was. That's right. The transition tag is how would you say it?
It
I think
allows-
there's a little more flexibility in it
It
for both parties.
I think it gives him. Yeah, it says he'll be guaranteed a certain amount,
Right.
and they have until July 16th to negotiate a contract with him.
And he could still actually go out and entertain other offers.
He can enter. It's not like the franchise tag where you belong to them for the next year.
I would say this, though. I would say it's probably a pretty reasonable deal for both parties because I don't think that I shouldn't say it's never going to happen. My feeling about it is they feel pretty safe in the fact that he's not going to get better offers than that. And, and for them, they're able to, if they want to, negotiate, more years on the contract or whatever.
Yeah. Is he that good, or was it just that good in a contract in the last year of a contract?
Well, I just think that probably it was the fact that everything fell right for him. They named 2 or 3 possible cornerbacks that the Bears might be interested in free agency, and I'm thinking, I don't know. I mean, I'm not an expert. I'm not trying to say I'm an expert on the NFL. I never heard of any of these guys. It doesn't mean that any of. Maybe,
By the way, I
maybe
saw something that Richard Sherman said goodbye to Seattle.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
But I think you know what you have in Fuller. At least you hope that he performed like the player that Phil Emery envisioned him to be, I think, last year. I was really impressed with his tackling. I think he played good defense on the pass. Who knows? Maybe this year he'll regress. I have no idea. But at least you have a feeling you know who you've got there, and you don't really know who you are going to get. I think the other thing that comes into play is I think they feel good. It's a position, with all the positions that they have to address, this one you don't have to, at least you're hoping that you don't have to address it as aggressively as some of the other positions that you have that you need to fill. By re-signing this guy, if that's the right way to put it.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it gives them a little bit less to worry about in terms of how we're going to go with this team. What are we going to do? Because honestly, I got to tell you, to me, other than maybe QB, which we hope Trubisky's going to fill, I don't know that this team is any better off position by position than they were last year at this time.
No. The only advantage they have is they've got a lot of flexibility with the roster. What is it? They only have... You can go into training camp with how many under contract?
I don't know how many you can
80?
go in. It could be 80.
They've only have... Well, I think the last time I heard, they only have 47 players under contract right now.
Yeah.
You got a ton of room on the cap.
Right, you do.
It'll be interesting to see how the draft is going to look. They talked about making a deal from Miami, the receiver.
Yeah, they were, talked about what's his name, Landry, Jarvis Landry.
Jarvis Landry. But the question is he a number one receiver? And a lot of people say no. Is he your big game breaker? And most people are saying no.
Yeah. Did you see the? Now I don't know where the information came from, but I saw something on Facebook the other day where supposedly a rumored trade was Jordan Howard.
Yeah.
And a draft pick for Jarvis Landry, and I think the Bears and Miami were going to exchange first-round picks for this year.
Right.
And I'm like, actually, other than the fact that I have no clue how good of a receiver Jarvis Landry is, a lot of people were reacting, oh, you can't trade Jordan Howard. Well, I'm like, based on the way this league is, at this point in time, yes, you can trade Jordan Howard.
Yes, you can. Yes, you can.
So
because in the nature of the business now, you can find somebody. You can find somebody in the draft. You can find somebody in free agency, and I think people are starting to look at the Bears to be a more attractive opportunity than a couple of years ago.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think you are. The big question for me is, if you're drafting, you're the Bears, what need are you going to fill? Because you're going to be drafting for a need. Somewhere.
Yeah, and a lot of people are thinking Quentin Nelson may be gone by the time the Bears get.
Yeah, what did I read? I heard that the Bears were hoping what would happen that might help them, might help for Nelson to be there. I want to say that if the Bears are the 8th pick, right?
Right.
If 4 out of the 8 first round, or 4 out of the first 8 picks are QBs, it's more likely that Nelson will fall to them.
Yeah.
But there's a question as to whether that's going to happen.
Right. Right.
Now, did you see Darnold or Rosen play at all last year?
No.
I saw Darnold play in the bowl game, and he himself said, I guess somebody must have asked him if he was a franchise-changing quarterback, and he says, well, I've never been with a franchise and never had to beat a franchise-changing quarterback, so I don't know, which is a great answer. But it made
not terrible. It doesn't give me a lot of confidence, really.
It made me sort of think, why is Sam Darnold, after you've gone through if you're Cleveland, say, and you're going to draft Darnold, and I don't know if that's actually a slam dunk either, because the NFL draft has a way of confounding the supposed draft experts. But say Cleveland did draft him. I mean, is he any better than some of the other guys they've had? He's probably better than Deshaun Kaiser, but some of the other guys they've drafted, when they drafted him, were pretty darn good quarterbacks out of college and didn't amount to a hill of beans with the Browns.
Yeah, it's the curse. By the way, Jarvis Landry, 2016, 94 catches, 1,136 yards, 12.1 yards average, 4 touchdowns. Last year, 112 catches, 987 yards, though.
Mm-hmm.
8.8 yards per catch and nine touchdowns.
Yeah, I couldn't.
And he's
say
only 5'10".
5'10". Yeah, and they're always harping on the big receiver. What I'm thinking
is, 5'11".
I don't think the Bears are going to make that trade. Honestly, But the other thing is, what exactly are they going to do? Are they going to sit there and hope that Kevin White and Cam Meredith are going to be healthy?
You can't do that.
Yeah,
you can't do that.
Yeah. Now, the other thing I saw is that it's possible that maybe in the second round again they might be looking at a tight end.
I saw that too.
And
because they're still not sure what they've got with Shaheen.
Well, I mean, Nagy has said he likes Shaheen's. He's got ability. He likes that. But I think, honestly, think about this. I said this going into last year when the two wide receivers, White and Meredith, got hurt. I thought maybe they'd plug Shaheen in right away and maybe go with the tight ends as being the primary targets, especially if Shaheen could run. And who were the other tight ends? Miller could run.
Yeah.
So, in other words, they could run patterns that were downfield patterns, not just short or certain routes. And I thought they might try to go with that route, but they didn't. And maybe they have something like that in mind. If you could pick up a good receiving tight end and pair him up with Shaheen and whoever else they're going to have in that group, because I don't know who's going to last. I don't know if Brown is still under contract with them or who's over there. But, I don't know. If you can't, what I'm saying is, if you're not sure that you could bone up the wide receivers enough, then you got to maybe fall back on the tight ends.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just
a lot. The Bears they got a lot of holes to fill.
There's a lot of holes to fill. I think, when you start out on the first round, you're going to try to fill one of your holes.
Mm-hmm.
Fill one of your needs. And I think after that point, you're going to start to look at best player available.
Yeah.
And can he fill one of my needs? What are you going to do for a backup quarterback this year?
Yeah, there's who's the guy that a veteran, not a guy that is really super accomplished. There's a guy I've seen a couple times that they've mentioned in articles that's a possible, and I can't think of who the heck it is. They have last week they mentioned his name. I can't think who that is. I have to say this though, Jim. Think about this. Are the Bears going to trade? Because they cut McPhee, they cut Willie Young. Leonard Floyd is coming off an injury.
Yeah.
You don't have a whole lot of outside pass rush capability. How are they going to address that? I mean, that's a key. So one of the writers said, and I think he's close to being right, after quarterback, one of the most key positions on the field is an outside pass rusher, and we, other than Floyd, if he's healthy, we don't have
And
that.
nobody.
So I'm thinking, is there somebody that's going to be there? That they're are they? Here's what I would say: are they going to lean on Harry Heastand to do the best he can with the guys we have, and draft an outside pass rusher? Or what are they actually going to do? Are they going to trade? Are they going to maybe try to trade through the draft, where maybe trade down, up, wherever they think they can grab what they need? I don't know. I don't know what the heck. To me, if I was running the team, yeah, you know what? You have those two big linemen from Notre Dame that look like they're guys you could plug in and have as an offensive lineman for a long time. But what about the needs now on the other side of the ball? And what you've really created by getting rid of the people who play those positions, cutting them.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm curious to see what the game plan will be.
It'll be interesting to see how the game plan is going to be. When do they start signing? When does the free agent period open up? That
I think
opens up next week.
Yeah, pretty sure it does.
Today, as we're doing this, it's the 7th. Does it open up the 14th or the 15th?
I know it's sometime in March. I'm not sure.
Yeah,
what the date
the
is.
first day of the league year.
Yeah, whatever that is.
Oh, okay. So it'll be interesting to see what the initial moves are, and it'll give us a hint as to what their needs are and how they're going, or how they're filling their needs, and what they're going to do in the draft.
Yeah, yeah.
It's going to be a fun off season.
It should be. The other thing is they're saying that free agency wise, it's not a really strong year for outside pass rushers.
Yeah, edge rushers. Yeah,
edge rushers. So you know what? If you see them, say, maybe sign an offensive lineman or two in free agency, then you probably get a better idea of what direction they're going in.
Yeah.
And who knows? Now, the linebacker they've talked about, the young kid, what is it? Is it Edmonds? Is actually not an outside linebacker. He's an inside linebacker.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking to myself, well, I mean, you got Trevathan, you got Kwiatkowski. John Timu was a good backup, I would say. So that's not, if you're going to draft, that's not really an area of need. I mean, compared to other things. So what are you going to do? The other thing I don't like about that is the guy just turned 20, and to me that becomes pretty iffy there.
No, he's at a point where he's just a little bit too young.
Yeah,
and you need a little more age, a little more experience.
Yes.
Okay, well, we got about a minute left.
Oh, my gosh.
And I can't think of much else to talk about. Anything else on your mind?
You know what? Why, were you thinking about wrapping it up?
Well, it's late and I'm tired.
Yeah, well, we're both tired, so.
And
John's tired too.
John's tired too.
And he, you know what? I was waiting for, when we were talking about the Bulls, for John to say, well, you need a big gun. Derrick Rose is out there.
Rose is still out there.
I mean, Utah, was it Utah? They didn't even want him, right? They
I know.
said, okay, we'll trade for him, and we cut him immediately.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting, the fact that they traded for him and cut him. I figured John would have been dancing around the kitchen.
He would have had to get the NBA network so he could get those late Utah games.
I don't think so.
No,
I don't think so.
He's got nothing. He's not going to say. He's off Derrick Rose. Derrick Rose is on Skid Row, and John's not saying anything.
John, if he came up to the truck when John, standing on the off-ramp of the Eisenhower at Harlem Avenue, John wouldn't even roll down the window to give him a quarter. I could see that.
Yeah. Yeah, really. He really doesn't need the quarter. That's for sure.
Yeah. I've been cut by the Jazz. Please help.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, we got through another hour of nonsense.
Man, that went quick.
Yeah.
Didn't it? I thought so.
Yeah, and we'll do this again in a couple of weeks.
Hopefully, I remember that we're doing it again in a couple
Yeah,
of
and
weeks.
hopefully I'll have some more thoughts other than a few things that I scribbled down on a piece of paper.
Well, even though we didn't have, you scribble a few things on a piece of paper, we go right through this like
Well,
a hot knife through butter, buddy.
we keep trying. We've tried what we laughingly refer to as show prep, and we really do a good job at our show prep. And then by the time we come in the next day, we've forgotten everything we were talking about.
Yeah.
So we've given up on trying to be formal about this. We just come in and wing it.
And there we go.
And there we go.
We've won it.
And we need to wrap this one up and send it down to the Museum of Broadcast Communications because it's another
Hall of
All-Star
Fame edition.
Another All-Star edition. Another Hall of Fame edition. All right, time for us to get out of here. John's going to cue up the music. Ooh, I hear it in the background.
Oh, yeah.
All right. We'll do this again in a couple of weeks. Until that time, we are Taillights.
You have been listening to Armchair Experts from the John DeVito Broadcast Center on Thursday, March the 8th, the year 2018, on Jack FM 89.7, WRHS FM Norwich, and the Windy City Hometown Entertainment Network with Jim Leon and Rich Massaro. This broadcast was directed by John DeVito, and our special thanks to radio station manager Kevin Zeflik of WRHS FM Norwich and the executive producer of Windy City Hometown Entertainment Network, Mr. John Chikondo. This broadcast was pre-recorded on Wednesday, March the 7th, the year 2018. Until next time, friends, please be safe and thanks for listening. And this is Jack FM 89.7 WRHS FM, Norwich, Illinois.